Hey guys, this is going to be a quick tutorial showing you how to create an audio spectrum in Adobe After Effects.
Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
Alright, now that we got that out of the way, let me first start off by saying you do not need any extra plugins, effects, or presets for this tutorial. Simply click on File, New Project. Now in here in the project area, right click and click on New Composition. Name this whatever you want. I'm going to name it AudioSpectrum. Make sure it's 1920 by 1080, and then also down here, make sure the duration is the length of your song. My song is 10 seconds, so that's what I'm going to start with. And once you have this composition loaded, right click in the timeline area, and then click on New, Solid. This solid's going to be our background, so name it BG. Make it the size of your composition, and then down here, make sure it's black. We're going to edit this background a little bit. So next to character, there should be an Effects and Presets tab, and if it's not there, go to Window and enable Effects and Presets. In here, type in ramp. Click on ramp and drag it on your composition settings. It gives it a nice little gradient. However, we're going to modify this a little bit. Your start color, change it to a light gray, and then your end color, change it to black. And then also change this ramp shape to a radial ramp. Notice when we zoom in, there's lines everywhere. We can change that by changing the ramp scatter to 500. It takes away all that lines and it gives us this nice little grainy look that I think will be great for a background. Also in the timeline area, right click and click on New, Solid. Name this Spectrum or Audio, whatever you want, honestly. Make sure it's 1920 by 1080, same as before. Make sure Spectrum is selected and then go to Effect, Generate, and then go to AudioSpectrum right here. Now this handy little tool will do everything for us, and it's a nice fun thing to play around with. Simply on the audio layer, we need to collect our audio, but it's not there. So go to your project and drag in your audio area, or whatever you're using for your audio. I'm using turn down for what, so simply drag this down here. Drag it into your composition, and then go back to Spectrum, and then the effects controls for Spectrum. Now under audio layer, click on it, and then click on your song. This start and end point basically change how far this line expands. I'm going to keep everything standard, so at 192 we'll be good. Now the start frequency changes the frequency of the audio that is seen through the thing. I'm going to put this down to 1 so more of it is seen, and I'm going to also change the end frequency to 1500. The frequency bands is the number of lines in between these things. There's 64 lines right here. I'm going to change this to 150. And also the maximum height is how far these things expand. So I'm going to change this to 5,000. Now also, the audio duration is something that you really don't need to mess with, but I would change this to 125. Do not mess with audio offset because that basically changes the how it's going to work, and it's kind of confusing. Change the thickness to 5. Now, down here in the softness, turn that all the way up to 100%, and then your inside color and your outside color can be your two favorite colors. Honestly, doesn't matter. I'm going to use green and yellow, and that looks a little weird right now, but we're going to change this hue interpolation all the way down to 180. Or you can click in here and type 180. This gives it a nice little rainbow effect, and changing these colors up here change the wave spectrum and how it looks. So it's just something that you guys are going to have to play around with, so bear with me. But yeah, the dynamic hue phase basically controls it's almost like a phaser, if you know what that is. Whenever I'm shifting through here, you notice how like the color isn't staying in one station because this is blue and then it's like yellow or something like that. If you deselect that, it just basically makes sure that the color won't change at all wherever it is. So now that that is selected, the display options basically change how it looks. Like you can make it analog lines or analog dots, stuff like that. We're gonna do digital, and then the side options change whether it's on the top or the bottom. We're gonna keep this selected on side B because that's the type of tutorial that we're doing right now. Now that's pretty much the hard stuff. Like it looks great and stuff, but I wanna add a little glow effect to this thing because it makes it look that much more better. So click on Spectrum, go to Effect, Stylize, Glow. It gives it a nice little pop, but in here we're gonna change the glow threshold all the way, let's put it down to 50%, and then change the radius to, let's do 150. Now the glow intensity you can change, but I'm gonna put it at 5. I don't like that, so I'm gonna put it back down to 1. Keep that. This is the cool thing about After Effects, because you can just play around with stuff. So I like everything, how it's working. I don't really need to change the color phaser, all that stuff. Keep it at 0. And then I'm happy with that. So I'm gonna keep that there, and then I'm gonna add the text layer. So down here, you can click Control T, and then it brings up this little text diagram so you can bring in anything you want. So I'm gonna type in, turn down for what? That looks good. And then hit V. Oh wait, you gotta select outside of this thing, and you can, oh my god, I can't get off this thing. There we go. So once your text layer is there, you can hit V and it'll bring up the normal selection, and then you can click and drag a corner, and then hold shift to change the size of it and restrain the, whatever you wanna call it. Just use any font you want really. I'm using Arial for this tutorial just cause it's easy. Now that we have this, that looks great. So click on the text layer down here and click Control D to duplicate it, and then double click in there and then type in like the artist name or anything like that. In this case, it's DJ Snake. Click on DJ Snake down here or your artist name, and then click V, and then click on this up here and drag it over, but hold shift at the same time. That'll make it so that you can't go up and down. Drag it over there, and that looks great. But let's click both these by holding shift and then clicking both of them, and then go to Effect, Stylize, Glow. Now on this glow, we're going to change the threshold all the way down to 0%, and that'll give it a nice little effect. So let's do a little RAM preview, and hopefully this thing will turn out like we want it to. It's still loading, so I mean, while it's loading, thank you guys for watching the tutorial. It's pretty flippin' easy, as you saw before. You can honestly make anything you want out of this. You can change the colors to all white if you're into that type of stuff. And honestly, the idea came to me when I was like looking at my keyboard. I was like, I want something that's like kind of rainbow to go with the color, and so I just did it, and it was fun. If you guys enjoyed the tutorial, please subscribe, because I'm going to be putting more tutorials out there this year since I have a lot of time this summer, so it'll be fun. But let's check it out.
Turn down for what? Turn down for what?
Hey guys, when I was editing the video, I actually forgot to include a little blurb about how I'm going to include all the project files in the description below. So if you check that out, it should just be a download link. You can get the song and then the AE file. So enjoy and good luck.